Awesome. Hey, Julia. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to hear about what you guys are doing at Cisco. Some really innovative things. So I'm going to let you guys talk about it, and I will be back shortly.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Hey, Julia, warm welcome from the Ecosystem Business Summit to you. Julia is VP of Partner Transformation at Cisco. Her charter includes Cisco partners growing their wallet share by accessing new buying centers. This is a very cool concept. I want to unpack this in the interview today. And as part of that, it really covers the entire ecosystem flywheel, evolving, co-sell outcomes, evolving joint solution build, developing net new solutions, also with new business models and routes to market. So warm welcome, Julia.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again, Amit.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on being named the CRN Power 100 Women in the Channel. And I have two daughters, and when I look up to you, I really admire what you guys have done, not only at Cisco, but what transformation you've led. So congrats on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Having two girls is great. It was me and my sister, and so it's a power combination.
Power combination, right. And what caught my attention in this is the project that you're leading around Transformers program at Cisco. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. So my title is partner transformation, right? So I think I wake up every morning, and my team wakes up every morning thinking about how we get our partners more wallet share. And so partners, meaning the whole ecosystem of partners, right? We have all different kinds, that we've been talking about all throughout this as well. And so, my team, we study a lot of the data, we do our own analysis, we've come up with all of these different levers that partners can pull, depending on what kind of partner you are, to help you transform and get more of that wallet share. So, we're creating enablement, we're creating incentives, and we're creating a lot of stuff. Then we started getting feedback back from partners and our partner account managers saying, there's too much stuff, right? How do I navigate all this stuff? There's so many levers, there's so many best practices, there's so many tools and incentives. Cisco is a big place, so that is true just in general. And so we created Transformers as a way to make it more personal, right? Bring it to, at the partner level, every partner is different. Every partner has different strengths, different business model, et cetera. And so this is a program that's more targeted. And for those that are participating, there's sort of more individual attention from my team around how do you assess where you are and where you want to get to, and then exactly what resources are helpful. So that's what Transformers are. And I have a 5-year-old son, so Transformers is a very common word around our house these days.
Fantastic, right. I will unpack that a little bit more. But the other thing that I really caught our attention was you are at the forefront at Cisco in driving, how your partners engage with new buying centers. Cisco has a traditional stronghold with IT and communicating with IT. But talk a little bit about this new line of business buying centers.
Yeah, I mean, it's and this whole conference is about it, and everything WorkSpan does is about it. And I think that I'm excited to be in a room with birds of the same feather as me, because it is true that at Cisco, we're coming from a place where we mostly sell to IT, we're mostly using value-added resellers, and we're shifting, right? So we're shifting to more solutions and experiences because we're seeing, very quantitatively, we're seeing the money and the budget move to line of business. So used to be that the IT department held the bulk of the technology spend, but that's no longer the case. The growth in spend from the line of business on technology is growing twice as fast as the growth in spend on technology from IT. So just from the pure economic reasons, it makes sense to go after line of business buyers, and what they want is outcomes and experiences and solutions, right? Business outcome solutions, not just technology stacks.
Yeah, and as you're taking this journey along, you're forging new relationships with ISVs and domain SIs, but you're also not leaving your resellers behind. You're taking them along for the journey. So talk about how does it really work in practice and what advice you have on that.
Absolutely. So I'm sort of a go-between. I'm a bit of a matchmaker at this point, right? And both Jason and Tom, I think, did a beautiful job articulating that it takes a village right now to sell a solution, right? It's no longer the reseller themselves is not enough, the ISV themselves is not enough, and the vendor itself is certainly not enough. And so it really takes a village to sell these solution deals. So I have to work both sides. So basically, I am forging all these relationships, right? Creating enablement and tools, and kind of playing catch up in some way for the ISVs and the DSIs and the consultants, that side of the house. And then at the same time, I need to talk to our resellers and tell them why this is important, where the money is going, showing them the evidence that it is more solution based. I don't have to show them that much evidence. Actually, quite frankly, a lot of our value added resellers, they know it. But it's really just a question. It's not of why do we have to do it or what do we have to do, but it's really the question of how do we do it in a not a messy way. So I love Tom's analogy, which is the armada changes every time, right? The swim lanes are messy. It's a little bit messy. Every partner in the deal, like different types of partners, they have different business models. They have different interests. They have different ways they go about the sales motion. And so because of that, I view my job very much as this balanced matchmaker, reconciliator of all the different interests so that we can together serve what the customer needs, which Jason so beautifully articulated, right? It's not selling something per se, don't sell, but actually this idea of, serve the customer need.
Wow. And connecting the arc there between the conversations, I see a massive shift at Cisco to be that orchestrator of an ecosystem in service of the end customer. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Cisco's huge and it's been around for 37 years. And so doing things sometimes takes a while, but we're absolutely seeing traction. There's a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of investment and a lot of attention on this. And so I feel good that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. And now let's look at the Cisco partner transformation journey. And I'm going to connect it to your previous role also as in the office of the CEO advising strategy and now shifting to a partner transformation role. Talk a little bit about the Cisco partner transformation strategy and
Yes.
then now applying it to your role. What are you doing differently?
Yeah, absolutely. So the partner transformation strategy is really around how to help them get more wallet share. And so there's a couple of different ways, right? So I had referenced before when we talked about transformers, there's several levers to get more market share. One of them is around selling into new buying centers, and selling into new buying centers requires development of joint solutions, right? So there's a couple of different levers I'll touch on, but I'll start with that one. So that's one thing that we're working a lot with the various different kinds of partners that we have out there, ISVs, consultants, DSIs, learning partners, all different kinds, right? And helping them really to be able to build solutions more easily with Cisco. So Cisco was not a cloud native, it's not like an AWS where we have all these, that we initially thought of being open to developers. It's a muscle that we've had to build, but we're building that muscle. And then co-sell is the next one, right? Which is after you co-develop, how do you co-sell? And so we're going through this transformation together with all of our different partners, right? How do we make it easy? How do we get feedback from them? How do we improve? How do we make the motion simpler? So over and over again, we have this iterative process. So that's one big part of the transformation. Another big part of the transformation is just around Cisco's broader move towards recurring revenue. So first it was a hardware company, then we started doing more software, and now even beyond software, it's really about recurring revenue. A lot of the recurring revenue is in as a service, which can be SaaS, can be managed service, can be infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, all of those as a service. So we're moving in that direction. And as we're moving in that direction, we're really building up this idea of a life cycle capability within Cisco, but also with our partners as well, which is things that are recurring revenue means that you have to have fantastic customer experience so that the renewal becomes a non-event. Right? We want the renewal to not be a big event. We want it to, it's a no-brainer. They're just going to click the button and it's going to be renewed. And that's really the beauty of a recurring revenue business model. And Wall Street, we see, has highly rewarded that business model. And so building up this life cycle practice is another big stake, another big lever that we have. Other things are the way that customers want to buy. So routes to market. So we're seeing that the customers are more and more wanting to buy through multiple different routes to market. So some of these may be marketplaces. They might want to buy some of it direct. They want to buy some of it through agency model. They want to buy some of it through partner managed services. And so it's enabling this across our partner ecosystem as well. How do we make sure we meet the customer where they are, not just what they want to buy, but how they want to buy it and where they want to buy it and how they want to pay for it. So those are sort of three big pillars of our transformation going on right now, in addition to all the constant technology innovation that we have going on.
Wow, fantastic. So let's unpack the first one a little bit. I found emphasis on co-innovation and co-build with partners very exciting. As you're participating in this larger ecosystem, building net new solutions.
Yes.
And often these customers have new and emerging demands, right?
Yes.
And sometimes approaching new lines of business, you have to package the solution differently and kind of address that line of business need, if you will. So what can partners expect out of Cisco in this new co-build motion, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, again, making more APIs available, making more telemetry available, putting more programs in place, putting tools in place, right? So, and I know WorkSpan has been a huge partner with us in this partner to partner motion, where it's assembling the village. How do we make it easy for the people to find one another, to coalesce this armada around a solution, really, to build it together, to sell it together, right? The whole sales model needs to be digitized. I mean, COVID only accelerated that, right? The pandemic, it was already going that way, but really we're finding right now that in absence of our live events where we used to get together and have a beer and talk about how we were going to approach this customer need, now we have to do it via WebEx or via Zoom. So it's really being able to, in a digital way, meet the right partners, figure out the solution, figure out the joint account planning and the pre-sales motion, and track the whole thing through, and then have incentives on the back. It's your entire flywheel that you showed, and I love the term flywheel. So I'm excited that we both use that term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and connecting this now to the co-sell side, right? Cisco has a massive reseller channel. Now the ISVs and the SIs you put together in this matchmaking role that Julia has at Cisco, right? So what are some early successes or early things that you're seeing on the co-sell flywheel side of things?
Yeah, we've seen several. I mean, we have a whole database of different win stories that get me really, really excited. So, I mean, there's a couple of examples that come to mind. We have there's a company called MazeMap in Norway that has partnered with one of our partners there, our reseller partners. And so we find that it actually takes both relationships. So we'll talk just about the relationship part of it, which is that the ISV in this instance had a relationship at the university that they sold this massive deal to. They had a relationship already because they were talking about a wayfinding app for students. Now, the reseller in the case also had a relationship in the IT department, and it actually took both, because the first thing that the line of business did was they called up the IT department and said, I need to, even though you don't hold the budget, I hold the budget, but I need you to approve and make sure that they're secure, that they work with our infrastructure, that you'll be able to take care of them and get it serviced if anything goes wrong. So from a relationship standpoint, that came together, and it was an amazing deal. It was an amazing solution, huge deal. It was great for everybody, and it's become a huge win story for Cisco. And it's only one of many, many examples that we have around how this motion, when it goes right, increases the deal size and the margin for everybody involved.
Right, net wins for all.
Yep.
So whether you're looking at healthcare or education or any vertical community as such, bringing together the right ISV, the right GSI in your role, matchmake that and make that happen.
That's right. And it really depends on, I mean, I'm looking for a formulaic way to do it, and the best I can do is what we're doing with you guys, which is to provide some of the tools and the processes and the incentives. But that being said, it's fun because every deal looks different, right? Every customer need is different. And so it's only formulaic to a point, and then it becomes quite custom.
Yeah, it's really about the ecosystem kind of coming together.
Yes.
I want to ask you the same question I asked Tom and Jason. Cisco is driving massive technology innovations in market. It's changing its model with partners and evolving it to make it current, honestly, with the cloud and subscription models. What do you expect out of partners?
What do I expect out of partners? So sort of our top partners are willing to invest and constantly be building capabilities. And so one of these capabilities is a development capability, right? So the ability to integrate there, many different vendors' products, and a lot of them already do this, right? But to really be able to create dashboards to show, to show the telemetry, to show all of the different data, to put machine learning and AI on top of this data to really derive some insights in the customer needs, to be able to sell professional services on top of this, managed services on top of this. So it's at a macro level, it's no less than I expect from my team, which is just this constant willingness to learn and improve and follow the market where the money is going. And so a lot of our partners do this very well. Some of our partners are still learning, and then there's other partners that are a little bit stuck. And so we try to help unstick them. But we really expect our partners to continue sort of keeping their ear to the ground and following us, but also giving us feedback and guidance around what they see in the market and how we need to develop these various capabilities, whether they be lifecycle or managed services, or development.
Fantastic. So in our work together with Cisco, I want to pivot a little bit towards WorkSpan and ask you a few things there. So in our work with Cisco, we are seeing that on one end, you're driving co-innovation work with new solutions for new buying centers. On the other side, you're connecting companies in a peer-to-peer network, if you will. How's that experience been, Julia, in terms of new ideas and the Cisco team embracing this change and driving this change with the partners?
It's very energizing. I mean, it's a lot of fun to think about. Like, we can see the potential, right? You can see all of the different deals out there that we could get if we get this right. And so for us, it's highly, highly motivating. Within Cisco, it's the same, right? We have a spectrum of folks. We're over 70,000 people at Cisco and 37 years of history. And so there, I think everybody sees, again, the why and the what. It's, it's the how that gets to be kind of tricky sometimes. And so, slowly we're getting people on board from every function within the company, but we have a lot of support and we have a lot of understanding, and it's been a great journey, sort of non-linear, right? Like, sometimes can be a little bit iterative and circuitous sometimes, but again, we'll have conversations, with Accenture, with NetApp, we'll have these conversations, and then you get a great idea and say, what an amazing idea, right? Like, what if we actually put that capability in there and they could do that digitally instead of in person? Or what if everybody could see the same data and track it and then be able to formulate plans together like that? Or what if we were able to pool all of our account information, and that way we'd have even more insight into what the customer's actually looking for, because they're telling different companies different things, right?
Absolutely. You're collecting, that's what's fascinating about your use case that I saw, that you have some information, but so do your ISV or your SI partners. And this willingness to share is something new that I observed within Cisco, but also your partner network, all in the greater good of the customers.
Yes.
And do you see this as well?
I do. I mean, again, there's some that are at the forefront of it and some that are still kind of guarded and feel like it's, and feel like they don't want to share. But we're finding, on the whole, right, when the opportunity presents itself, people understand that we're better together, right? That it's hard to construct the solution on their own. As many, I've got win stories, but I've also got lost stories. I've got stories of where folks did not bring in the right solution partner, right? ISV or DSI or whatever you want to call it, in time, and we lost the deal, right? So those things are also getting publicized as well, which is, if you don't go in there with the solution that the customer wants and you're trying to shoehorn a square peg into a round hole, that doesn't end as well for you. There's less forgiveness for that these days.
Absolutely. And given the audience that we have in terms of ecosystem professionals, what advice would you have to them? And I would specifically like your advice on two fronts. One, on a personal front, we all want to advance our careers and get to be Julia in the next iteration, right? So how do we make that personal journey to real impact within our companies? And then to a larger, you have a long arc across all sorts of partners. What advice do you have for this profession?
Absolutely. So I think on the personal front, it would be to think customer first, which you all do here, and be brave. I would say it's easier said than done. And obviously, there are times in my career where I've been braver than other times, but I do think it's worth, when you come to conferences like this, when you see papers, when you hear something that makes you think, it's good to go out there and talk to your boss, talk to your coworkers and say, we've been doing it like this for a while. What do you think? Like, this is crazy. Like, it may seem crazy. We have to change a lot of things, but I really feel like there's something there. So, at least in my career, I'm not always rewarded for doing that, but I've been rewarded at key points for being the one to say, let's swim against the grain just for a little bit within the company, because I think that there's a broader trend happening out there in the industry. So I think that's one thing. In terms of advice for our partners, I would say continue to keep your ear to the ground, right? Continue to look at the analyst reports, look at the industry reports, come to conferences like this, like really talk. And that's, again, it's different in this world of all digital, right? Where we're still in pandemic mode. And I think that that's somewhere where we've all had to evolve, is our listening forums are different than they used to be, but you have to continue to keep the ear to the ground to see what the customer needs and how we're changing that. And check back with all of us. So myself and Tom and Jason and Amit, you too, right? Which is that this space is evolving so fast, right? From month to month, like the transformation within Cisco is noticeable from month to month. And that velocity of transformation, I think, has picked up in the course of this pandemic. So I know it's a lot more work, but you should, keep up, right, with that, keep up with the latest news and the latest innovations that are happening with the various, vendors and companies as well.
Yeah. And, something that I've also observed is that, 5 years ago, ecosystem leaders did not have budget for themselves to kind of improve their teams, improve their tooling. But I see that has shifted dramatically, especially in the last 1 year with COVID, where we can't meet face to face anymore. Can't deliver that handshake, can't deliver that presentation and kind of do the QBR and oversight. There's a lot of emphasis on getting the ecosystem tooling right.
Yes.
And one of the things that I urge people to do is look for this area, budget for this, right? What would your advice be to ecosystem leaders who are fighting for their teams and their budget, honestly, to justify?
I would basically say, I would take to them the data around what the customers are wanting, which is solutions, right? And so I would be relentless about it. At this point, this is a trend that for my leadership, I never let them forget it, right? Which is, if we lose this, we lose a lot, right? If you're not on the forefront of ecosystem selling, of solution selling, experience selling, we stand to lose a lot, because the world is shifting away as the technology becomes more and more complex. And these solutions become more and more complex. Customers are less and less willing to patch it all together themselves. They want the solution right out the gate, right? So again, it's really being adamant about it. It's pointing to your peers, right? I think, many of us know, sometimes you can show them the opportunity that they can gain, but also I find it to be quite motivating to show them the opportunity they're going to lose, right, if we don't get it right. And the tooling is important, right? This is not, again, the pandemic is a great excuse, but it doesn't need to be an excuse, which is, I do think going forward, we're going to a hybrid work environment, right? So it's not even an excuse. I do think that's the way we're doing business going forward. Therefore, the digital tools become quite important in all of this.
Fantastic. Julia, I love the insights that you shared today. Personally, a big fan of the kind of transformation that you're driving at Cisco together with your team, co-building, co-marketing, co-selling, co-investing, literally the whole flywheel. Is being rethought under your leadership. With that, Chip, I'd love to open the forum to questions from the audience. And
Julia, this has been fantastic. I love your sort of closing statement that, if you're not at the forefront of ecosystem selling, you're going to be left behind, kind of thing. So I think it's really true. I also love that anyway, I think you had just a lot of really good insights, talking about sort of bringing your resellers along as the market transforms. So we do have some questions, and actually we have someone that raised their hands, Frank Della Rosa. Frank, thank you for your questions kind of all the way along, but go ahead and ask your question for Julia.
Thanks, Chip, and really enjoying the event. Julia, I work for IDC. And an area that I cover is business platform strategy. And you really piqued my interest when you started talking about a formulaic way to match partners. And I'd be very interested to know if you're looking at, Cisco is looking at how building an algorithm can help here to be able to identify certain characteristics or traits, and then find those patterns and use the patterns to identify high potential impact matches.
Yeah, so we're beginning to do that work inside. So on the partner matching, it's not quite that sophisticated just yet. We're mostly just, it's your classic dating app. It's like, what are you interested in? What are your capabilities? Where are you geographically located? What type of solutions are you wanting to offer? So right now it's simple matching on that front, but we absolutely have applied machine learning and AI to our deals database and our partner database to understand correlations between what characteristics we see and what capabilities partners have and their likelihood of entering into different kinds of deals and winning them. So, Frank, this is one of those where we're at the beginning, I think, but we are planning to do more and more. I mean, given some, my own personal interest in machine learning and AI, it is something that we want to apply. Like, I see a lot of potential to mine a lot of data that we have for this kind of stuff, and I would urge other companies to do as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question.
Good question. Thanks, Frank. Let's see. Mark Horner just asked a question as well. Julia, was there an unexpected great benefit utility of WorkSpan which pleasantly surprised you? Okay.
So I was just blown away by how many capabilities they've already created, right? Because WorkSpan's been around for a bit and they've already done this. We're not their first rodeo, and we are the benefit of not being their first rodeo, and that we've actually seen all the incredible capability that they've created for other companies. And so things that we hadn't even thought about, capabilities we hadn't even thought about around the on-platform collaboration and the robustness with which they can contact one another, and how much monitoring we can do even as the vendor watching this. Like, we can insert things into the platform, we can derive insights out of the platform. So all of that has been delightful, I would say. I didn't know what to expect when I embarked on this journey, right? So I was quite happy that WorkSpan was so far along already, because it's less development work that I need to do in-house. Great question.
Awesome. Good question. Shubhra Sinha asked also, does Cisco have similar goals for partners and their business models for interacting as Cisco partners? Shubhra, I'm not sure I understand that question exactly.
There's a two-part question there, Chip, that I see. I'm reading it out. So one of my enterprise clients has three partner business models: integrators,
yes,
MSSP, and those who host and build solutions for public cloud.
Yes.
So how are you doing this, and how are you utilizing WorkSpan?
Yeah, so the question is how to mix them, right? So it's one challenge to create the program's incentive enablement for each one of those motions, because they are different, right? They're different, they're different business models, as you say. And so there's creating the right programs for all of those. But then for me, the biggest challenge is actually having them coexist together and actually having some of these business models mix, because it happens sometimes, right? So, we get situations of a customer would like this vertical specific solution that involves a co-sell, but they'd like to buy the Cisco piece of it through AWS Marketplace, and they'd like to manage it as a service too, by the way. So at this point, you've actually mixed together 4 different models all in one, and we're working on how do we do that more seamlessly today. So it actually it requires a bit more muscle at the channel organization center to do this exercise, but that's what we're evolving to right now, is to try to figure out how to enable each of these business models individually, which I think we've sorted mostly, but all together now, having them mix all together is where we're having to figure out how to as Tom said, clear the swim lanes and make sure that everybody plays in an optimal way.
And this is where I think using WorkSpan, where the idea that you could have joint plans and have goals versus metrics relevant to each model, and every day when you wake up as a partner manager, you look at your goal versus the metric, and you can then iterate your strategy as you mix and match the models.
That's exactly right. It's a hard problem though, yes.
Yeah, and I see one more question. So when you look at combining industry-specific apps like ISV apps in an industry-specific, how should these new ISVs reach out to Cisco and work with you to build new solution, but also access your massive channel?
Yes, absolutely. So and that's what we're building right now. So we start with an application that we call Partner Connect, which is which is if you go to Transform at Cisco, you can see, I'll drop the link with Amit and Chip and they can send it out, but there's a place where you can start, where you can learn about our transformation, our broader transformation, and then there's programs that you can enroll in so that you can be part of our ecosystem, right? And it's the way that we manage all partner types or partner roles, which is that it's a tiered program, but you can find out all about it, and we're putting together a journey map for ISVs to follow so that you can get the access to all the resources that you need. And then help if you need it, right, from my team or from other teams as well. Devnet is another place where you can start as well. So Devnet is a great front door for developers at Cisco, where we have a ton of API sandboxes, tutorials, enablement, hackathons, like a lot of things happen through there as well. And then some of our business units themselves also have sort of smaller ecosystem platforms. And so we're working to kind of pull those together, but that's, again, a work in progress.
Awesome.
Terrific.